to The Hypnotist, the show that gives you inside access to cutting-edge hypnosis with real clients facing genuine issues. Brought to you by the hypnotherapist demanded by celebrities, CEOs, and even royalty, Adam Cox. These recordings took place live from Adam's clinic in London's world-famous Harley Street. So, get yourself comfortable and enjoy today's episode of The Hypnotist.
Hi, Adam here. And in this hypnosis session, you're actually going to be listening to a hypnosis session that was recorded for other hypnotherapists. There was a talk that I recently did in preparation for my talk at the UK Hypnosis Convention on nested loops. And the traditional way that hypnotherapists are taught nested loops is you start with one story, you open a loop, so unfinished business, then you start a new story, and then you have an open loop there and then another story. And what I found is that when I created a hypnosis session based on the movie Inception, I found a more simple way of having the structure of nested loops. Rather than linguistically, it was visually based on levels of disassociation. So what you're going to hear in this hypnosis session is me asking for random things from the hypnotherapist that I was working with, and then building a hypnotherapy session on the fly based on those different locations. And the reason I do different locations is that, just like the movie Inception, when you've got different places, it becomes easier to follow where you are in the actual story. In the hypnosis, it's good to have different levels of disassociation in different places. So if you like nested loops, or if you like stories within stories, I think you'll get some value of that. I'm also going to include the hypnotherapist telling me the kind of places that they wanted me to feature in this hypnosis session, just so that you can see it wasn't prescripted and it was kind of done generatively and intuitively on the fly. So let me know in the comments if you like this kind of stuff, and enjoy the session. Right. So we get to do a longer demo now because I was rushing through some of this, and this is where I need your help, because I'm going to do it in real time based on whatever you say. So, you know, it's not kind of premeditated and pre-planned and that kind of stuff. So we're going to start with a place in nature. So you can take yourself off mute and just, and by the way, the more specific or random it is, the better. If you just say a beach, it's a bit too bland, and I've done loads of beaches. So if it's a place in nature that could be quite specific, that's helpful.
For me, Adam, it's in a forest with a waterfall, like lots of big rocks around, and trees, a lot of trees overhanging. Yeah.
Love that. Forest and waterfall. Now we want to go from nature to something that is not nature. So let's think of a famous building. Oh, hi, Jacqueline, by the way. If you could think of a famous building, now's the time to share it.
If no one else is going, Sydney Opera House.
Sydney
You
Opera
know
House.
that building?
What was that, B?
Go B.
I was thinking about the building in all the love movies where they have dinner on top of the building and there is all the hearts.
What's that? Sorry,
Empire State Building, I think.
Empire State Building.
Empire State Building, I think.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well,
it's in all the romantic movies, they have the dinner on top of the building.
Okay, Sydney Opera House. And for the sake of making it more complex for me, let's also add Empire State Building. Okay. And now a time in history. Because the environmental shift doesn't... What's that,
Let's go
Jacqueline?
with medieval.
Medieval, love that. Okay. So if we had the Empire State Building in medieval England, that's going to be pretty absurd. It helps us to remember it. Okay, a type of transport.
Well, in the medieval age, we don't have lots of options. Has to
Well,
be
we're not
a
limited.
horse, maybe.
The imagination is limitless, B. So we can have a space rocket, in the medieval time. Like, why not? So what's a form of transport that we can just have?
I was going to say a helicopter, but I don't know.
Right, you've said it. That's what it is. Helicopter. And then finally, a fictional place. So a place that definitely doesn't exist, but people know it. So I'll share some ones I've had before. The Harry Potter universe, Hogwarts, and the Lost City of Atlantis, but you can't have those two because I've done them before. So a fictional place.
So Wonderland of Alice.
Alice in Wonderland, like it. So Alice's Wonderland. Okay. Now, because of the nature of what I do, I never do any kind of hypnosis without recording it so I can cheekily turn it into a podcast episode. So what I'm going to do is get my audio editing ready here so that I can do it for you guys, but also have an episode as well. So track, new stereo track. Okay, so you're going to start hearing some nice relaxing music. In fact, I don't know how. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop sharing because we don't need this. I'm going to see you all on screen, and then I'm going to put it on music mode. So if you start making yourself comfortable, you're going to start hearing my nice relaxing music very soon. Take a deep breath in. And as you breathe in that resourceful feeling of calm and relaxation. And as you exhale, feel a wonderful feeling of release. As if any tension, stress, and worries are starting to leave your body as you breathe out. Become aware of your environment, the temperature in the room, the feeling of your clothes on your skin, and become aware of the speed of your own breathing. Breathing in relaxation and exhaling tension. And I wonder if you could imagine what it would be like to allow your physical body to stay where it is and your imagination to float up out of your body. And just imagine that your imagination is on a quest to find a magnificent forest with a picturesque waterfall. Imagine floating up and gliding, flying over cities and oceans until you find that forest. And just imagine you find the place in the forest where there is that waterfall cascading into a pool. And I want you to get a sense that this is no ordinary waterfall. This is a waterfall that has healing properties in the water. And you have a desire to bathe in the pool of water under that magical waterfall, but not yet. Because something catches your attention. I want you to imagine seeing a hole in the ground with a fireman's pole connected. And this is confusing. Why would there be this strange pole going into a hole there in the forest by a waterfall? But I want you to unlock courage and curiosity. And as you imagine sliding down the fireman's pole, you find yourself bizarrely in the city of Sydney, close to the Sydney Opera House. See the iconic architecture. Imagine the sunshine of the Australian sun on your skin. And I want you to get a feeling, a wonderful feeling, that the sun is melting away any tension, that you are feeling more and more comfortable, more and more relaxed, there, under that Australian sun. And I want you to make your way into the opera house. Imagine it's empty. And I want you to imagine seeing the stage. And on the stage, I want you to imagine a locked box. And you don't need to know what's in the locked box, only that it has something valuable and useful for you. I want you to imagine next to the locked box is an elevator. And I want you to imagine that you press the button for the elevator and the elevator opens. And as you go into the elevator, I want you to imagine seeing hundreds of numbers and you hit the top floor. Feel the elevator rising. But when the elevator opens, imagine your surprise as you leave the elevator onto the top floor of the Empire State Building. I want you to imagine the incredible views over New York City, having a sense of opportunity. And I want you to imagine a glowing ball of energy there nearby the windows that overlook New York. And next to the ball of energy is a portal, like a wormhole. As I count down from 5 to 1, you will imagine going through the wormhole to a different point in time. 5, approaching the wormhole. 4, walking into the wormhole. 3, whoosh, 2, 1, and imagine coming out of this 4-dimensional wormhole in medieval England. And you know it's that way because there are people walking around, old cottages. The clothing gives you a clue that you're not living in modern times. I want you to get a sense that here, all of your knowledge, all of your experience would seem like magic to the people living in that time. Your knowledge of the world would make you one of the most brilliant thinkers and scientists that's ever lived. As you come to the conclusion that in the kingdom of the blind, the one-eyed man is king, and your knowledge, your experience, and your skills at a different point in history would feel like a superpower to those people that did not have your knowledge. like Da Vinci, living in the Renaissance, ahead of their time. And I want you to imagine there in medieval England, describing to a local what a helicopter is. That a contraption with propellers spinning at a certain velocity could enable someone to lift up from the ground and fly. And as you imagine explaining the nature of a helicopter, I want you to feel that thoughts can become things. And exactly as you describe the helicopter, you create the helicopter. That you are manifesting this helicopter. And I want you to imagine that this helicopter invites you in. You go there into the cockpit and take off. And I want you to imagine going through the sky, over the villages, seeing in amazement the astonishment of people that have never seen such a thing. But as you fly in the helicopter, you fly forwards in time to Victorian England, next to a large stately home. And as you leave the helicopter, I want you to imagine seeing a rabbit that seems to be in a rush. Imagine this rabbit wearing a hat. And you follow the rabbit until it jumps down into a rabbit hole. And imagine how you would feel to follow the rabbit down the hole and enter a wonderful world called Wonderland. And I want you to imagine seeing something in Wonderland that is confusing. A food simply labelled, "Eat me." And I want you to come to the conclusion that this is not just food. This gives you a powerful, profound, new way of thinking about something that directly affects your life. Maybe it's an idea. Maybe it's a new perspective. Maybe it's a new ambition. But imagine eating that thing that says, "Eat me," and feeling a sense that either now or soon through an epiphany, this realization, this resource, will soon come to you. So you can leave Wonderland with a sense that you are elevated with a new level of thinking than when you arrived. Imagine leaving up through the same rabbit hole and seeing a helicopter. But I want you to imagine that the helicopter comes with it a new perspective. From the perspective of a helicopter, you see everything from above, and I want you to imagine as you fly back to medieval England in the helicopter, you do so with a new perspective on your own life, like you're seeing your life from above, your timeline beneath you, with new insight on a new decision or a new standard that can shift your life in wonderful new directions. As you land in medieval England, I want you to get a sense that the locals there are astonished. You seem like a magician. And because you seem like a magician, allow yourself to amplify all the things you do for others that are indeed magical. You change lives. You are already a wizard. And allow that magic part of you to be amplified. And I want you to get a feeling as to what it would be like to find yourself going all the way back to the Empire State Building through the wormhole in reverse. As you walk through the wormhole, you find yourself on the top floor of the Empire State Building. And all this time, there was a glowing ball of energy. This is a resource that will enhance the quality of your life. Imagine taking that ball of energy, placing it to your chest, and absorbing that resource, maybe a new resource, or reactivating a resource from your past that you've lost connection with. Harness that resource and feel more resourceful as you press the button of an elevator. And this elevator takes you down, all the way down to the stage of the Sydney Opera House. And when you leave the elevator, you remember there's been a locked box here all this time. I want you to get a feeling that this locked box contains something that your future needs to know. As you open the locked box, imagine there is a sealed envelope. And at some point in the future, through a thought, a daydream, or even a dream when you sleep, your imagination will open the sealed envelope, and it will be revealed to you something your future self needs to know. And then you leave the Sydney Opera House, and there in Sydney you see a fireman's pole. Maybe brightly coloured, you climb the fireman's pole, upwards and upwards until you find yourself clambering out of a hole in the ground in a forest. And by that forest is a waterfall. And that waterfall contains healing properties. And I want your unconscious to let you know of something that still needs to be healed. And as you bathe in the water and feel that healing properties of the water, feel that that part of you is indeed being healed. When the healing takes place, or at least starts, you can leave the pool, feel the cascading water on your skin, and allow yourself to start to float back to reality. But you will float back to reality knowing that this has just been a journey within your imagination, a journey of thoughts within thoughts, ideas within ideas, and dreams within dreams. So take a deep breath in through your nose and out through your nose. Wiggle your fingers, wiggle your toes, connect and calibrate into the here and the now as I now count from 1 to 10 to awaken you. Starting to count. 1, 2, 3, waking up. 4, 5, 6, more alert. 7, 8, open your eyes, open your eyes. 9, 10, wide awake, wide awake, wide awake. thank you so much for joining me on today's episode of The Hypnotist. If you've enjoyed this episode or got some value from it, please give it a 5-star rating and review. And maybe you know someone that would also benefit from this particular episode, in which case share the episode with them so they can also get the benefit too. And if you would like to listen to this episode where it's just the hypnosis, so no intro, no outro, no explanation, just the hypnosis and completely ad-free, there will be a link in the description where you can subscribe at a very low cost and only get access to the hypnosis. So if that's of interest, please check that out. Thank you again for being a regular listener of The Hypnotist, and I'll see you again soon for more.